Check.
Hi.
Oh my, hi. Okay, there's literally a guy riding a horse down the block. I have to.
I want to
You see
see
that?
this. Uh, no, I can see the wind. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So I see. So that doesn't happen every Saturday at this time.
No, well, maybe it does. Maybe it does, and I've never seen it before. I only noticed it because someone wooed him. They said "woo," and I said "what?" So, how are you? Hi, how are you doing, Dad?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
How was your
Uh,
week?
let me turn you up. Uh, Week was pretty good. I got my fourth booster shot on
Okay, yeah,
Monday morning, and other than what they call injection site
yeah.
sensitivity, which really hardly bothered me at all, I didn't have any. I didn't have any side effects. I
Yeah.
I didn't
I'm
feel
having a
anything.
little bit of camera difficulty, so I may glitch in and out, but hopefully, can you hear? You can hear me?
I can hear you,
Okay.
and I can see you very clearly.
Okay, good. Are you team Moderna all the way?
Well, no, I was Pfizer all the
Oh,
way,
yeah.
and then what they had available was Moderna, and apparently that's okay.
Yeah.
It's
I'm both too. I got two doses of Moderna. I had and then one dose and then my booster was Pfizer. And that was in December,
right.
which is, I mean, I'm 47. They say 50 and up you
Yeah.
can get your fourth. So
Well, there are a lot of cheating people in New York.
I'm not going to cheat. I'm never,
Well, I don't know if it's cheating. I think they'll give it to you if you turn up
if I
there.
ask my doctor, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I can. I mean, I don't know if I'm medically. I feel pretty healthy. I'll wait till they advise it for everyone, or for they expand it a little bit more. But yeah, I'm pretty close to. I mean, I want my fourth one. I'll get it when I can get it. Good for you. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, and actually, the day before I got it, um, one of the Johnny, who's an art handler at the gallery,
Yeah,
he called me with COVID,
yeah.
uh, and but he just tested positive. He had mild symptoms, um, but he hadn't passed it on to anybody in the
Right,
gallery. I mean,
right, sure.
we'd
No,
seen him the
my
day before,
yeah.
but
My coworker's husband has it, and I mean he's okay, but it's I mean it's
yeah,
more than it's not mild. I mean it's he's laid out
yeah,
a little bit.
sick, sick,
Another
yeah,
coworker, she's getting over it now, but she has the COVID fog and brain. Like she's like this really I mean she's getting back to work even virtually has been.
it's a
Yeah,
thing.
it's real. It's still real. It's still going on.
Yeah,
It's not over. It's not. But I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah. So but how was your week? How are you
It was
doing? What
okay. It was pretty good. Um, a lot of it, well, some of it was devoted to organizing something I hope I never do again. The memorial, I don't know what to call it. We're calling it a celebration of the
Sure.
my 93-year-old friend Casper, who
Yeah.
died 2 years ago at the Morgan Library,
Yeah.
and my co-executor, a really nice lawyer named David. I mean, he's helped quite a bit. His office has given me help, but um, because Casper didn't, he had names and addresses in different notebooks, no emails, and it was a struggle to put together a list of people to invite,
Sure.
because he had a relatively well, he had a somewhat of a compartmentalized life, or he knew people in different walks of life. So it's not as if there was like one crowd. So
Yeah.
I have to go around and get an invitation out on an e-invitation, then find people to speak, and it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Especially somebody, he had one niece who will speak, but he didn't have children,
Sure.
so there's not a lot of family. And
Sure.
I didn't want it to be just his like people he'd given money to
Right.
saying thank you. But I did get his last girlfriend, who's probably in her early 80s herself.
Mhm.
They went out for about 5 years, and she was quite devoted to him, and she's agreed to speak. So
Sure.
that's nice. But
Yeah.
I get these emails at 8 p.m. saying, "What color tablecloths do you want?"
Yep.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Um,
so anyway, and I found through NIFA, I found a young cellist, a woman who is
nice.
uh, uh, giving her an honorarium to play, so that it's you know have a little bit of life to it.
Um, I, wait, I remember planning my mom's memorial, and I specifically remember talking to the priest, and he was, he's a priest, and he really was like, he wanted to know, like what biblical passages, and I'm like, I mean, I do know the Bible-ish, but I mean, my mom was Catholic. I'm not. It's not so much my, and he was. It was. Yeah, I don't know. It's. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you that my mother was cremated, and she left no instructions other than that.
Yeah.
And it was at a, I mean, she was raised a Catholic, she
Sure.
was very Catholic, but I mean, she didn't want anything to do with that.
Sure.
It was a kind of a chapel-ish place in the crematorium. The guy, who was not a religious, I mean, I don't even know what he was. Um, I think he'd spoken to Johnny the night before, but he'd never met her. He
Right.
knew
Right. Right. Right.
nothing about her
Right. No. Right.
at all.
Yeah.
And so, but I had um, my contribution, which I am relatively proud of, is to choose Edith Piaf to
Oh.
sing
Yes.
"Je ne regrette rien."
Generically, yeah. Yeah. No.
I think Billie
That is
Holiday, a
we.
similar.
I think we've discussed this. That's one of my favorite songs, and that
So,
I mean
so I
that's
thought that, and she loved Edith Piaf. So I mean that she would have, if she'd thought about it, she would have said, "That's fine,"
I mean, I mean, I only met your mother one time. She was a contrary. I mean, but yeah, I can't imagine growing up with her. I mean, she just felt very difficult, and yet I felt a kinship to her. But I don't know. There,
that describes it. One day's enough. One day will be enough for me. But what do you,
uh,
um, so 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 that'll be next week. Victoria comes back next week.
right, right,
Um, it'll be a fairly biggish week, but I'm getting closer to the final auction of my
yes,
deal, and then I'll be relieved when that's done. It seems
yes,
to be going okay. So there don't seem to be any last minute hitches. So yeah, and then I'll have my hip replaced.
right, yeah.
Uh,
And so what day does Victoria comes back? You'll be in the city.
I'll be in the city. She comes back. I mean that I think this because the airlines change things a lot these days. She's flying back on Turkish Air, and she's supposed to get in to land at about 10 o'clock on Wednesday night.
Right.
She may be later, or she may be delayed. She's two of the ladies on her trip are coming back with her, and they're going to spend the night in the city with
Yes.
her. and I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. She and I will probably come out here the next day.
Right. Okay.
I think that's what's going to happen. But
And then when's the memorial? Is that memorials before that?
Memorial is Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Memorial is Tuesday night. Oh, and I have my um my is bi no not biannual is every 2 years. What is twice a
Biennial
year?
and biannual. I've I've had this discussion. I can't remember. Biannual is I can't remember which is which at this exact moment. But
I
I
think
yeah,
biannual with an A is every 2 years.
right. And
And
biennial
biennial
is
with
yeah
an
yeah yeah
E.
yep.
Anyway, I have my biannual with an E IRS meeting on Wednesday, which is going to be on Zoom. It'll be fine. I mean, it'll be okay, but it's all day. It'll take all day.
Right. And that right. Yeah.
It's all right. I've already done the work for that. So, yeah. So that's that. So, can we talk about Disney?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Unless you tell me your news of the
No, you
week.
tell. No, no, absolutely your news. What about Disney? Which part? I mean,
Well, first I think it's in, okay. Oh God, sorry. Um, so
and
so
this is Agatha, right?
this is
No,
Agatha on the
oh no,
Agatha.
this is Agatha.
What are you doing? On the face of it, it would seem we now have something very bizarre, which is that we have the Republican Party on one side and the wholesome, all-American, you know,
Sure.
the symbol to the world of
Yeah.
this kind of healthy American, you know.
Right. No. I mean, what's fascinating is how. Well, no. Well, no. It's not even what's fascinating. But to me, I mean, it's so DeSantis is so far right that Disney is his target. But Disney actually, first of all, they didn't even come out until after he signed it into law. Gay people actually were criticizing Disney. Disney barely they promised in Finding Dory, which was a movie from like 5 years ago, that there was going to be a gay couple, and it turned out to be like two gay fish. Like I don't know, like they don't like they're
No,
not.
Disney's been miserable, right? I mean, and the actually the only public stance that Disney has taken over DeSantis is to say we will no longer contribute to any political parties in Florida, which is about the weakest, dumbest thing.
Yeah, no, the most
We're not going to give the Republicans any money.
right. Well, no, they're now finally committing to doing what actually most corporations should stop doing, which is giving money to both sides and
Yeah.
claiming that's neutral or some. I mean, Toyota to this day, and again, I still own my Prius, but I'm over Toyota because they gave $600,000 to the sedition, to Josh Hawley, to Madison Cawthorn, to Marjorie Taylor Greene, to Lori Boebert, all those people who explicitly incited a riot, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the violence that took place was incited by them. None of them should be in office. I mean, we can talk about any of them and their weeks. They all had interesting weeks, and some of those hot takes I'm not even interested in. But no, Disney, yeah, and I don't even understand because I mean, the economic impact is going to be felt by the citizens of Florida.
Yeah. Disney actually is probably going to save money because they no longer have to pay for the fire and the security. They no longer have to pay. They have to pay taxes the same as anybody else.
Sure.
But I'm sure that
the offset. No, and I mean now, whatever from now on, any crime, any accident, whatever happens is now on. Disney first of all, yeah, they've done a fine job governing. That's what's weird. I mean, it is interesting that Disney runs their own government. I mean, that's a whole sort of interestingness, but that's always been the case. The whole stories of how they won't allow ambulances into Disneyland. So if you're like sometimes like I don't know, there's.
Well, you get a Disney ambulance, right? You get a
like a goofy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you get a
Um,
doctor in a goofy suit.
but yeah, yeah, no. Disney's going to save money. Disney is now no longer, I mean, well, they now have realized where they are, which is Florida, and that's been great for them for 50 years. But Puerto Rico Disneyland PR is trending. Hashtag Disneyland PR. Puerto Rico's like, hey, we're U.S. territory. You don't need a passport to come here. Lots of land and beautiful sunshine all year round. Come expand here. Like, Colorado is courting. The governor of Colorado is literally like, hey, Disneyland, we'll give you incentives if they won't. Disneyland has lots of money to spend. Disneyland also employs more people. I mean, Disneyland employs like 60,000 plus people. Ron DeSantis only won by 21,000 votes in Florida. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what he thinks he's doing. Like, I don't know who he thinks he's taking on. Like, the House of
If
Mouse. I mean,
If Disney moves the tourism tanks,
yeah,
and
right.
just the people, I mean, I think it's only a very small percentage of extreme right wing families who are going to say, well, we're not going to go to Disney.
Oh,
And I'm sure Disney's algorithm, they know
oh,
percentage of their income that comes, first of all, from overseas tourists who couldn't care less.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
oh
they
yeah.
have no interest in the politics of this anyway. They're just, and most Americans too, they want to go to take the kids to a package holiday in a nice place, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what Disney provides. Which, I mean, we've done those. That's and
Yeah,
two. I mean, and they can do that anywhere. I guess that's the point. I
yeah,
mean, they're not going to move out of Florida, but yeah, where they expand or where they continue to put their
yeah.
dollars. I mean, yeah, it's showboating. And again, okay, so that that I've been sitting on this math curriculum committee for the Seattle Public Schools for
Yeah.
the last 6 months. I've been looking literally at the curriculums that the state of Florida just rejected. Again, Ron DeSantis, 54 curricula, textbooks a day, and literally, like the New York Times just reported, nothing in there is maybe an odd Joaquim or like a name here or there or a reference to a food from another, but there's definitely no critical race theory. And the social emotional learning that they're afraid of, it's really interesting that they're afraid of. Because to me, when I talk about social emotional learning, I'm actually talking about things that right wingers care about too, like teaching kids grit and
Yeah.
determination. And that's what, in the math context, social emotional learning, it means um, not be being able to take risks so that you can solve
Yeah.
problems and learn. It's not.
Conflict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's not what but they're so afraid of. And this whole notion that parents should have control over, and now it's not even Florida, it's other states, that parents get to sue if the teacher says something that they don't like. Parents should have all access to the whole curriculum. And it's like, but you don't understand the curriculum. Exactly what they're doing in Florida is why you let every other job, you don't ask the doctor to see the. I mean, I don't understand, but they do now. Actually, I mean, they question the
Yeah, but
CDC. They question.
it's the inmates running the asylum
Yeah,
because
I mean,
they also, I don't know what, maybe it was CNN, they couldn't find actually the pages that they had produced as examples. The Republicans had produced some excerpt pages, and they couldn't find them in any book. I mean, the whole thing is pretty bogus. I
oh,
mean,
and no, and yes, usually what? Oh, and yeah, again, Florida. Oh my God, I mean, again, Florida. Their Secretary of Health wrote this memo that basically um, discourages trans children getting the care that they deserve, getting
medical care.
with
Yeah,
no science whatsoever. All the science says that trans children are most vulnerable for suicide and whatnot, and support and protect them. And they're saying yeah, and there's the memos that they're citing, it's not scientific, it's not. I mean, there's a broad international, I mean, endocrinologists, like hormone
yeah,
doctors,
yeah.
came out and said this isn't science, this is nonsense, but they will cite whatever. It doesn't matter if it's outdated, it doesn't matter, and they'll use that as their excuses, and it becomes circular because once those things circulate virally online, they continue to, and then they force people over and over to argue, but that's not true. That's not what critical race theory is. They force people to argue it in the court of public opinion. They force people to argue it in articles. They force people to argue it literally, legally in court. And it doesn't matter where the grain is because it's all a stalling tactic because none of these laws will ever stand constitutionally in the end. But the making people have these arguments over and over is the point for right now. And it's exhausting, but it's the grindstone of liberatory work of you can't give up. The point is to drive people to give up.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it also is the degree to which social media can mold people's opinions allows them in every case to say, well, okay, but there are two possibilities. Once you say there aren't two possibilities, if you're talking about abortion, science, you're talking about medicine, there aren't two possibilities, right?
Yes. No, I talk about this.
Hydrocloxine or whatever it is will kill you. The vaccine won't.
It's
not an opinion.
Right.
It's not that you might disagree with. It's wrong.
But it takes 18 months for the actual studies to come out, and in those 18 months, you can keep, and I call it both sidesing the shit out of everything. You just both sides, but both sides. There's always a both sides, and that's and to me, but the interesting thing is, and then when there are actual issues that you have to take a stand on, they won't. Then when you're talking about race, where there really is, it's either you are a racist. Either you are upholding and supporting racism or you are fighting against it. There is no middle. There's like, it's exhausting. It is. Okay, can we talk about, so I mentioned, I had a big protest for reproductive rights on Thursday.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything, speaking of social media, did you hear anything about it at all? Did you, I don't feel, I'm disappointed that it didn't. Speaking of people giving up,
I didn't. I would have seen it on MSNBC or CNN, I've been following discussions about the issues,
yes,
but not a protest. I did not.
What are the tones of the discussion? Because I feel, again, like we talked about last week, the tones of all the discussions, the articles I'm reading that are sort of preparing for a post-Roe world, like, oh well, what do we do now? And I'm like, well, we fight now before that happens, because it's not a done deal. And
the last thing that I heard, the last discussion that I heard which was this morning, and I don't know who the pundits were, they're all talking heads, but they were basically saying that even if Roe versus Wade is not quote unquote overturned by the Supreme Court, this kind of not so gradual deterioration of rights by the states
mm-hmm.
is already going to effectively end Roe. In other words,
right.
it's not going to be like one moment we have a victory for pro-choice.
Right.
The fact is that it's being eroded. It has been eroded.
It already had. Yeah. No. Okay.
It's already been eroded. So you now have, as we said last week, an underclass of women in many states who could go to prison for having abortions, right? Even if they're victims of rape or incest. And this is medieval.
No, I know. That's the part that, yeah. And people can go to prison for helping them, even helping them leave the state now. Even now they're trying to criminalize,
And the relative of a rapist can get an award for turning the rape victim in for getting an abortion, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, there's no morality, there's no logic, there's no justice, unless it's biblical, unless it's the Old Testament. I mean, it's maybe this is coming out of the Christian right. I don't know.
I mean, well, I, I'm going to give benefit of the doubt of I think a sincere amount of people are really strongly swayed by emotional appeals. Pictures of objects that honestly aren't often even fetuses, but that they're presented as
Yeah,
very graphic imagery, and people are swayed by emotional appeals, and it's been called murder since the
yeah,
80s, and that's
yeah,
as much as the right calls the left snowflakes, and but it's really, and again we were talking about social emotional learning, and they think that that's somehow brainwashing children into leftist indoctrination. It's actually the right who strongly who falls for emotional appeals. The
yeah,
a person on the left side of the spectrum can say, "I don't like abortion, but I understand it is needs to be a option in this world for a variety of reasons." A right winger is more swayed by it's murder, and these sort of blunt black and white, and again I think there are people on the extreme left and the extreme right who are swayed by very extreme media that on both sides there is a both sides there that presents things in a very blunt black and white way, and I'm worried especially about young people who are swayed by um, yeah, I don't know. There's a yeah. The right is not the only problem in our country. I don't know.
no, it's not. It's the divisiveness creates builds the extremes on both ends. The
Yeah,
device the
but I mean, but the divisiveness comes from the fact that there are real issues that we as a nation are not resolved on, that different people have very strong different opinions on, but we're all kind of, I mean, to me, and again, this is a more right wing thing, pretending that we're all getting along or pretending that it's all, you know, it's, I don't know, I'm not articulating it.
I you don't have to um, but it's not also only in this country because
Oh God,
the
Marianne
election
Le
in
Pen.
France is
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Marianne Le Pen. I thought she was. I couldn't even believe that she's back, or that she's. Did she
Well,
win though? Did she?
even if
It's
she
no, no,
loses,
no. The fact that I mean, Boris Johnson is also basically Trump. I mean, the fact. I mean, I mean, we. Yeah.
but Marine Le Pen is
Oh.
pro Putin,
Oh
so
no, she is. I mean, yeah. No,
so
she is really.
she would yank France out of NATO. I mean, she just
And
um,
even if she loses again, how close is it gonna be? Is disturbing. I mean, it's
he'll stay there, but by a very slim margin. And
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
I mean, and
because of the way they're, oh, I was going to say, but you said by a slim margin. And then, if I understand, because of the way their parliamentary system works, that really puts them at a disadvantage. Because how you build again, I don't understand it, but it's like how
he has
much you
less
win
power.
by determines how much you get power. I don't know, like how you get to select things, and how much of your party gets.
I don't know the French system
Mhm.
that well,
I
but
know
the
I'm not
fact
claiming to either, but I think how much you win by determines certain. Uh, yeah, it will make him more vulnerable if it's a slim margin. I think, and not to the parliament system and how, or not even him, but his party, I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
what she did, which the Republicans may or may not do,
oh, they will because it's
it
all
was to
playbook.
move. She moved. She quickly dropped her racist brand
Oh, right.
and she moved towards the economy so that she would have the sympathy of the blue collar and middle class, quote unquote, average American, the French person who would no longer hear her ranting about Muslims,
Yeah,
but who, if they're fed up with Macron or they don't like him because he's not that likable,
right.
might do what a number of people did, which was swallow their pride and voted for Trump, even though they didn't like him as a person.
Sure. No, and that's, I
And
mean,
and
and that,
that's
yeah. I mean, that was Trump's playbook for the second 2 years of his term. I mean, the first 2 years he said things like shithole countries, and then the second two terms he really focused on. He dropped it, and it was interesting. But what any politician who and it is, I said you were like, I wonder if they're going to use it. Of course they will, because it's a playbook, and they all crib each other's notes, and if it works, they'll do it. It is the nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I'm not saying those things anymore, but you remember when I did. They don't have to say them anymore.
They're going to have to go racist to get to win the primaries, and then they're suddenly going to have to move swiftly to the middle to win the elections.
And then when they're called out specifically, they never. It's always again, like a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's always that was in the past. Don't associate me with someone else. Just because I showed up.
Marjorie Taylor Greene can't remember anything she did around January the 6th.
Cribbing notes, but I can't recall. That's a straight Reagan.
She's young to have Alzheimer's.
It's straight. Well, yeah, but you're right. Reagan could get away with it in his second term during the Iran Contra.
Well, we knew he couldn't remember.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that was credible, but they all say that. They say that about quotes they made on Saturday, on Tuesday. That is their absolute playbook. I don't remember saying that. I don't.
But McCarthy denies he said what's on tape. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's all fake news, right? They faked his voice.
It's all fake. It's always fake. It's always, you can't prove anything. Nobody saw me do anything. I mean, yeah. So what else? What else is new? What else, or do you need to go, or what's? Yeah.
I don't need to go. The dogs can wait for their dinner. They've done it before. No, I don't know. I'm just wondering whether I should be less connected to the daily onslaught of news and opinion. I don't know. I don't know whether I honestly don't know.
That came up.
I have a desire to completely retreat, but then I think that's not. I don't know.
This came up at my job. I mean, for several people with talking about their own like self-care and like just specifically within the last week. By the way, I think you gave a donation recently, or did you? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. They asked. Yeah. Thank you. They
asked me, so I said yes.
But this for me, and again, obviously my little YouTube channel is not a news source for anyone, but I try, part of the shows that I do are current events and commentary, so then I feel this obligation to stay current. I take these little notes, and especially on a week like this where they pile up, where I'm like, oh my gosh, so much is happening. I couldn't even talk about it in a 4-hour show, a 6-hour show. It's so exhausting. No, the news cycles are exhausting, and trying to keep up with them are exhausting for anyone. I also, when I do tune out or tune out less, or then I feel a different kind of anxiety from not knowing what's going on, because there's so much going on. I don't want to be, as much as I don't want, whether it's climate, whether it's race and gender, whether it's, all the things that are going on, as much as I don't want to know, because they're all dark, I not knowing, it doesn't provide me this sense of calm that I don't know. For me personally, I can only speak for myself. So I want to know, and I want to know from a variety of sources. So I really double down on not only reading editorials from my own side or perspective, but I read, and they make me so mad, but I'm balling fists, but like Ben Shapiro or whatever, or Jordan Peters, these right, their perspectives are shaping people's minds, so I want to know what's going on. And then there are groups like Media Matters that actually spend. I'm like, maybe I should just get a job with them. If you're gonna watch right wing media, you should get paid for it. You shouldn't just do this on your own time because it's.
Okay, yeah. So this is kind of interesting because um, Victoria's been in Uzbekistan for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
She's had local guides, and
Yes.
often, for instance, when we were in Peru, our local guide was this amazing. Well, we've had several local guides who, once you get to talk to them and they understand where we're coming from, they talk more openly about the colonial history of their country. Or I'm not saying super political, but they're
Yeah.
they're citizens there, and they care, and they're not trying to varnish anything. So her guides, interestingly, have apparently spoken a great. What is major to Uzbekistan is that it was part of the Soviet Union
Yes.
until 1991.
Yeah.
So older people are really very, very anxious to talk about what it was like then and what it is like now, i.e., much better now, more better now,
Yeah.
built up. But she said, until today, there's no mention of Ukraine at all. In other words, that now this is a tourist group,
Sure. No.
that's
Yeah.
fine. But today she's in a place. She's in a pretty small town. I think it's called Nur, N-U-R. Anyway, her guide for tomorrow is a woman that met them tonight, who was for 30 years, she was the director of a museum there that had a rather famous collection of Russian avant-garde and a lot of other things. And in fact, this was in the news, although I didn't pay attention to it. In my art news, in 2015, she was sacked because she was accused of having forgeries or stealing paintings or something. And the entire staff of the museum said this is nonsense. Everybody said it's nonsense. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a very, so she's now a tour guide, right? So her story, she did talk about this to Victoria or the other women. And she said, in fact, the reason she got sacked was because the president's daughter wanted her job. It's a
Yeah.
she indicated the president's daughter was rather like Ivanka Trump. In other words, she was. Yeah. So, but the interesting thing is that she did mention Russia, but no one will say Putin's name. There's still a pall of concern, fear, or whatever, even to saying his name. So we're discussing that too deeply.
Yeah, no, I get it.
They're an independent country, but
they're
in as much as Ukraine thinks it wants to be in the West, they're definitely in the umbrella of
I mean,
Soviet Russia. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Wow, yeah.
So it'll be interesting, because it seems that all of that rather like China with the Uyghurs, Russia tried to stamp out, because they're a Muslim country too.
Right.
Russia tried to stamp out their culture.
Yeah.
So everything is pretty new. Mosques, bazaars. And I think this is one of the reasons that this group wanted to go there, was because the weaving culture and the silk culture has now been revived.
Yeah. How is that going? Do you know? Have you heard how the actual the quilting and how that part of her?
No, she brought an empty suitcase. The stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
she bought some textiles and yeah, no, she said it's an amazing. She said it's absolutely amazing.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Much more, much cleaner, more colorful, newer. She said the people are super, super, super friendly. They all want to get their photographs taken with the Americans. And
Sure.
yeah, I mean, yeah, she had some trepidation because
Sure.
just of where it was.
Yeah. No, of course. No, of course.
Um,
But yeah.
so, so it's nice to know that there are countries like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
uh,
Switching gears 100%.
yeah,
Apparently, millennials don't understand Steve Martin. Don't get his comedy. Don't.
that's very interesting. Um,
Are you did you say you are watching his show with, so I now file him with Selena Gomez in my they go together, the Martin Short show with him and Martin Short and
oh, I
Selena.
watched it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a short series. It's
yeah,
brilliant,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you'll like it because it's so New York. I mean,
Right. No. For me, Steve Martin is hit or miss. And it always has been. So again, this album, I mean, King Tut, I don't think stands up very well, and that's specifically the
I was never a King Tut favorite.
no, yeah, yeah. The Jerk. And so A Fish Called Wanda is a great movie, but his part was a lot of ableist, making fun of disabled people. Like a lot of his.
He can make fun. Well, and the Pink Panther was making fun of French accents, I
No, a
guess.
lot of his humor is just is, but he's also brilliant at other times. And I no, and I love Steve Martin, and also Steve Martin, the author, Steve Martin, the banjo player.
He's an art collector. Yeah.
The art, oh yeah, the art collector, Steve Martin, the 7-year-old autograph refuser. Oh no, yeah,
um, he poured tea for me in his apartment when I visited him a long time ago,
that's
and
okay, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he's a multifaceted individual. No, overall, I
but
am.
I understand why his humor is, but he's playing, he's 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 making the character he plays is an over the hill, once bloated ego TV, person.
Okay,
So
at this point, both his own humor and whoever best harnesses his smugness, and that is a part of who he is. There's
oh,
a
he's
certain.
very good. No, you should watch this. Selena Gomez is brilliant, and so is what his the annoying other guy.
I love. Yeah, no, yeah, Martin Short. I think it's Martin Short.
He plays an annoying person, and he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
to. He's just
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah.
Everybody in it is very good. It's
Right.
worth watching. Um, but to go back to, oh, so you said Steve Martin, and I just read this morning that uh, um, what's his name is being canceled. The Bill Murray.
Yeah. Okay. And well, I don't know if he's being canceled, but
Well, I'm saying that as a kind of
no,
a joke.
but literally, when you talk about it, I mean, what does this mean for him, for his career, but also for all the people who were working on a film set that just got shut down, at least for a week, and now who knows if it's going to resolve. Interestingly, one of the producers is Aziz Ansari, who was someone who, during the Me Too, specifically, he was someone who many people, including myself, felt got caught up in, and I've talked about this many, many times. I don't think cancel culture is a real thing. I think if someone does a wrong thing and they don't know how to apologize properly, their career deserves to end, and
Yeah,
especially if it's egregious,
they
their career.
canceling themselves.
Yeah, but in this case, Aziz Ansari, someone came out and said he made me feel uncomfortable on a date. He came out and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even sure how." That was sort of the whole thing. But then so he suffered career consequences for something that I thought was a little bit farther removed from actual sexual assault or actual.
Yeah.
That being said, that's completely different from the Bill Murray. No one's claiming that, but people are claiming bad behavior on set, which this is not the time. Oh,
No,
I'm sorry, did I scare your dog?
let me close the door.
Yeah. Oh,
No bark outside. Even if
did some?
there
Oh,
was a truck. There was a
oh,
truck
the truck. Yeah, I
outside.
was gonna say, did someone show up? Yeah. But that behavior on set, which he's been experiencing.
Stop it. Stop it. There's a guy coming to the door. Hold on a
Go
second.
take care of it.
Yeah, just wait.
Yeah, no, we can wait. We can wait. I think my cat's outside. Okay, I'm okay.
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay,
You there?
I think so. You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Can't start video. I don't know why it won't let me start the video, but I guess this is the end because I love you, Dad. Can you hear me?
Well, okay. So this is an intermission until next week.
Yeah.
It's an intermission because we have to finish the. Well, maybe there'll be more Bill Murray information.
No. We can finish it. I mean, I can be. Can we just talk and you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. No, finish your thoughts.
Well, no, I think that again, the problem is that the personality that he's kind of been banking is a personality that you could actually see being not quite very funnily dismissive or insulting to people.
Yes.
Um, and it's not that I shouldn't judge an actor by their role, but his kind of he has played a role in life too. I mean, in a way like Steve Martin goes around.
So
He goes
here's
about, so to
yes.
speak. He
Okay.
lives in
Here.
Beverly Hills and you know, and I could see him picking on. I mean, I could see him picking on somebody, whether it's sexually or whatever.
No, yeah, I know. I mean, here's the other thing. He's been famous for a very, very, very long time, and that's, I mean, to me, just in and of itself, that lends credibility that and you've seen that sort of. Well, it's a character that he plays, but it's also, I mean, you see it as part of his personality rise over time. You see how he's leaned into being Bill Murray in a very specific way that, yeah, exactly like you said, it just makes it very credible that he would, yeah.
I mean, I can't really point to specific examples, but there are some guys my age I've known all the over the years, and I think Gerald would be one of them if he was still alive.
uh,
Who I kind of was probably in my 20s. I would have thought what they were saying and doing was very funny, and then it was less funny. And now
yes,
it's not funny at all. But
yes,
they don't know that. They know they
yes,
um I don't know what I'm not saying that about myself. I'm just saying that there's depending upon how you live and where you live, you can get fossilized and be, you know, unaware. I don't know whether unaware is the right word, but you're just not moving.
Yeah.
But paying attention to the fact that, or you're bemoaning the fact that the culture is moving past you, or
Right. Well, yes,
and
my why.
you can no longer do the things that you thought were perfectly okay to do because they were kind of funny and people understood them, and you know, I didn't really mean any harm, and you didn't realize that there might have been somebody in that room who was really hurt by what you said.
Yeah. And that's a whole category of egregious people. Why aren't my jokes funny anymore? They used to be.
Yeah.
And the whole impact versus intent. I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, so why does it matter if it did? It should be about what I meant. That should be what's centered.
Yeah, because it's about me. It's all
Because
about
it doesn't matter your influence. I will not acknowledge that when my words go out into the world, they influence other people and they affect. I refuse to, yeah, it's about me. Here's the other thing with Bill Murray. A number of credible individuals in the 90s and early 2000s, people I met, like suggested, or not, yeah, people online, people that Bill Murray, this is a weird, speaking of like meeting celebrities, Bill Murray walked up to them while they were specifically eating French fries, stole a single French fry, ate it, and said, "No one will ever believe you." Multiple people in multiple cities said this happened to them. I both believe it. I both think he thought that was funny. And then just let's talk about consent. Let's talk about, because first of all, you know me and French fries. I won't even let my dad take more than one French fry off my plate. Like, you can have one. But like for Bill Murray, like just this notion that I 100% believe those stories. And at the time, other people would, did that really happen to you? And blah blah blah. I 100% believe it.
yes, because it's also overweeningly vain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly vain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I'm God. You saw Jesus, but you know, no one will believe you, right?
Okay, well, while I had no access to a camera, speaking of vain, let's talk about this. In the last week, both our signs have been maligned. Tauruses have been maligned. It trended that Tauruses are the most vain, and then Capricorns are just the most difficult. Which, are we agreeing or disagreeing? Or we?
I would agree to. I've always agreed with some standard tropes about my sign in terms of stubbornness and to a certain degree of, I guess, not pig-headedness, bull-headedness, but no vanity. No.
Yeah. Well, no, neither of us believes that. You definitely did not raise me to believe in, astrology. I do remember, in fact, I remember being shocked finding a picture of you from the 60s and you're wearing a Taurus t-shirt just because that seemed sort of out of character for you, but also, I guess, for the era, Age of Aquarius, blah, 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 but I don't know. Yeah.
Probably the only one available. Maybe it was I think, one of the Rolling Stones tours.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. It was the Gimme Shelter tour. Anyway. All right. I love you.
I love you too, Dad. Okay, you too. All right, talk to you next week. Or when we can, if it's, I know we have some.
Yeah.
All right, bye.